The last safe city. It holds great and varied significance. For some, it is a home, our home, the last vestige of humanity, a jewel in the darkness, a place worth fighting for and protecting. For others, it is a prison, a reminder of all we have lost, and a temporary and perhaps foolish reprieve from the dangers lurking all across our system. No matter your viewpoint, from the top of the tower to the districts below, the city is in fact the last sanctuary of humanity. When once we traveled to other planets and spread ourselves across this blue marble world, now the city is much of all we have left. Welcome back, my friends, to another Embrace Destiny video. Kaz PhD here, continuing our series on the life of Destiny. Today's video will take a closer look at the last city, examine what it is like for the people living there, and hopefully provide all of us with a much needed reminder on the power of community. Going back to the beginning, before the Traveler, we know that humanity was quite widespread in the pre-Golden Age, with billions of people living out their lives all across the surface of our planet. While humanity had barely begun to travel to other worlds, this one was full of life, full of promise, full of problems. With the arrival of the Traveler, many things changed. As the last speaker put it, great cities were built on Mars and Venus. Mercury became a garden world. Human lifespan tripled. It was a time of miracles. Great technologies were discovered and created, and perhaps strangely, all signs of human strife seemed to disappear. Accounts of the usual incessant fighting, politics, and war that had walked alongside humanity's history from the beginning seemed to stop. With great medicines and access to seemingly inexhaustible resources, people seemed to stop fighting each other. Inequalities seemed to have been stripped away, and collaboration across culture was not only possible, it became the norm. We see this unification quite often as we look at Golden Age accounts, religions and cultures interacting in ways never before seen, people enjoying numerous cultural delicacies and traditions, all mixing harmoniously during this miraculous time. Now, perhaps the strife continued, but was lesser. Or perhaps our records are either paltry or biased. No one wants to talk about the unpleasant, so perhaps both during these times and the recording thereof, maybe the darker moments were hidden or buried, or the message massaged. We may never know. In any case, the positives seemed to outweigh the negatives, and it was a time of great human collaboration and achievement. Sadly, it would not last forever. With the collapse came hardship, both outside and within. Great environmental changes and events, such as the last days of Kraken Mare on Titan and the ecological severity witnessed on Earth, swept our system, rendering most of our worlds inhospitable. Invading forces, mostly the Fallen, arrived, picking off what they could, scavenging all that we had left. Again, as the speaker said, in its dying breath, the Traveler created the ghosts, to seek out those who can wield its light as a weapon, guardians, to protect us and do what the Traveler itself no longer can. However, it would take a lot of hardship and a long time before guardians would appear. No, first came the warlords, those with power picking on those without. Immortal and immoral, warlords made sure to subjugate and consume and destroy whatever scraps of humanity others could build. Not all of those gifted with light were bad, but enough of them were to keep humanity in a dark age for a long time. People starved, were killed, homes were destroyed, cultures, people, traditions lost among the petty squabbling. Worse yet, much of the unification which was built in the Golden Age was stripped away. Sure, people worked together to survive, but xenophobia became quite common. People were separated, people were hunted. Paranoia and suspicion were both wise and necessary. Ask the Drifter. Maybe he'll tell you. His lore book, A Man with No Name, goes into great detail. Earth was a dangerous place, and humanity hung on by a mere thread. As always, even in the darkest times, hope remained. Tales of heroes were rare, but treasured. Eventually, the Iron Lords appeared. They corralled and curtailed the warlords, led the people to the shadow of the Traveler, and built the last city. The lore book Constellations details these events. It talks of the Iron Lords protecting humanity from outside threat, allowing people to build the walls of the city, to go from simple tents and campfires to something closer to what we see today. But the last safe city has rarely been safe. The Battle of Six Fronts, the Battle of Twilight Gap, our enemies laid siege. Inside the walls, different battles occurred. What started as differing ideas turned to ideology and struggles for power. The faction wars ensued. People fought in the streets, killing each other, sometimes over abstract philosophical ideas concerning the traveler, sometimes over the provision of resources, of food. Times were tough, and while humanity cradled inside the walls, not all could agree on how to maintain order. The consensus was made. Leaders among the community worked together to root out the troublesome factions and give a voice to the others. But problems continued. Take a look at the factions we have representing the people today. The consensus consists of the Vanguard and the New Monarchy, Future War Cult, and Dead Orbit factions. These are the leaders of humanity. Each has their purpose, and each has worked to help serve the city well, but each has their problems. We covered the Vanguard in an earlier video, but the main issue here is that the Vanguard's focus is more on the protection of the city than the betterment of it. Simply put, the Vanguard is and should be more concerned with the city's defense, rather than on human rights and needs. The other factions work more closely toward these latter goals, but with differing degrees of success. Dead Orbit ultimately believes that staying on Earth is suicide, and that we should go elsewhere. To them I ask, where? Where would we be safer than here, under the Traveler, where we're all together? Perhaps, yes, congregating, especially under something as auspicious as the Traveler, makes us a prime target, but we have been scattered before, and it did not help. Still, Dead Orbit has a point about the dangers of isolation, and they have helped secure safe passage for people to and from the last city. Future War Cult, from their name alone, it might be hard to imagine that they would ever do anything to support the peace of humanity. But the cult mostly believes that war, either the next or the war, is coming. Scouring technology and artifacts alike, Lakshmi and her fellow cultists serve to keep us vigilant and prepared. New Monarchy is an interesting case study. From the Ghost Fragment New Monarchy Grimoire card, we know of the 7 tenets of this faction, which are 1. To secure our walls against the enemy without. 2. To secure the rights and liberties of every upstanding citizen. 3. To sponsor the sciences of the city, and to salvage the ruins beyond, so that our golden age might be reborn. 4. To support the Guardian Orders by leading the city in technological innovation. 5. To support the natural harmony of the city, and to actively dissuade any group or individuals that might disrupt that harmony. 6. To hold all individuals, compacts, and alliances to the highest standards of productivity and right behavior. 7. To, by vote of the consensus, abolish the consensus, and transfer ultimate power in order that the rights and liberties of all citizens be secured to a single sovereign of unimpeachable character. As always, tenets like these are likely developed from a place of good intention, but bias must be investigated and cautioned against. To secure the rights and liberties of every upstanding citizen. What makes for an upstanding citizen, and who determines that? To support the natural harmony of the city and to actively dissuade any group or individual that might disrupt that harmony. Again, what is this natural harmony? What manner of dissuasion is to be used? To hold all individuals, compacts, and alliances to the highest standards of productivity and right behavior. Who defines this right behavior? Finally, to transfer ultimate power to a single sovereign of unimpeachable character? This report is not a treatise on New Monarchy, but it illustrates a point. We are led to believe that the consensus was formed to maintain order, to seek out disruptive voices and banish them. But here we have a faction with some severely strong ideas on what is right, wrong, and who is to uphold the city's ideals. Ideas which, when given power, especially unchecked power, can lead to ruin just as much as alien invasion. Perhaps you believe these problems are minimal, or that they are a remnant of the long past? Why don't you ask Hawthorne about that? In the Dawning Delights lore book, page entitled Our Choices Define Us, we learned that Hawthorne once was so upset with New Monarchy that she punched Executor Hideo, the faction's leader, right in his face. See, New Monarchy had been prioritizing its stores of food and resources to those who pledged their loyalty. Hawthorne was furious with this, believing that rights and resources should be shared by all, that equality should reign, not elitism. This fight, this argument, was what made Hawthorne leave the city in the first place. When researching for this video, I found it very difficult to find out more about the city. I wanted to share what it was like for non-Guardians in their day-to-day lives. But us Guardians, high on our plasteel tower, we rarely hear about this. Most of us don't live with the people. We fight to protect them, yes, but usually far away. Normally we only hear about the good people of the city when there's battle or when there is a holiday. We know that humanity is seemingly united, that old and new traditions alike mingle together to help bring light to the darkness that is our world. People share food and drinks, and when the times are good, even feasts. From random lore entries, we start to form a picture of the last safe city, but it is far from complete. Our people exist in an uncertain state. Sometimes they struggle for the bare necessities of life: food, glimmer, shelter. In other cases, they have technological wonders beyond imagination. Weapon foundries continue making guns capable of firing hard light pellets or mystical energy, crafting weapons of war with the love and dedication we normally attribute to art and poetry. It seems that humanity has rebuilt itself somewhat since the Red War. Looking out from the tower, you can see the many lights shining bright, electricity running, and the hustle and bustle of people living their lives. Running restaurants and delis, libraries, hospitals, research labs, as conductors of maglev trains, even bakeries, all seemingly without intercultural strife. However, I have to ask myself, and ask you, is this truly the case? Or is conflict stirring below the surface? Has humanity finally learned to unite? Or is it a temporary measure for survival? It is hard for us to tell from our perspective. As always, I look to the light. Not just the light of the traveler, but the light inside people. The light that sees promise and potential in working together, toward a better tomorrow. The light of passion that burns to make today better and to fight inequality and injustice. We may be off fighting some world-ending threat on other worlds, but we cannot forget that there are fights taking place here at home. There are some, driven either for power, ignorance, or selfishness, who believe that some lives take precedence over others. That some people, awoken, exos, or people of different colors or creeds, should not be prioritized as highly. Worse yet, these people will actively work against others and have created systems, like the factions, which have their own agenda, which are funded and supported fundamentally by extremists and the grossly intolerant. We know the city has a militia, a group of semi-organized people responsible for patrolling the city, but are they there to keep everyone safe? Or just some people? Or worse yet, to not keep people safe, but certain people's property and their interests? These are all questions we should be asking ourselves, questions we should investigate further and fight to change the answer to. We only have one Earth, one last safe city, and we don't need, through intolerance and systemic prejudice, to do to ourselves what our enemies, the Fallen, Cabal, Vex, Taken, and Hive, have failed to do: to destroy us. To everyone listening to this video, I say this: open your minds and open your hearts. Embrace new ideas, new people, and tear down the archaic systems which maintain inequality. Use your voice, use your resources, fight for a better today and a better tomorrow for everyone. Yes, my little video here may seem like a bandwagon effort or a pin drop among the thunderous noise we hear today, but I choose to act every day toward equality and peace, and this video is only one small part of the way I choose to vocalize my grief, my plea, my frustration over what we have far too often let our world become. Be better, Guardians. Rise up and raise up those around you. Listen more and be humble. We all make mistakes, and we all have bias. but together we can build something great. Thank you all very much for watching. I know this video hit a little harder than most, but life is hitting a little hard right now. As I said, I initially sought out to make a video understanding the life of non-Guardians in the city, but it is tough to find out more outside of holidays and battles. The people of the last city seemingly live together in harmony, running normal businesses and sharing stories of community, but there is much we do not know. I wanted to say something, to do something on my platform, and to make a promise out loud that I've always maintained in my heart. To do the right thing, to promote tolerance and equality, to be a ward of dawn against the darkness itself. And so I hope you have enjoyed and taken heart in today's video. If you too are struggling, reach out. Use your voice for good. Find ways to help either by raising awareness or donating to causes when you can. Thank you all again. I wish you well. Next time, we're going to be talking about the animals in Destiny, so stay tuned to learn more about the furry beasts roaming around our worlds. As always, be safe, be kind, and we'll see you all next time. Bye now.